he like a 1991 NFL coach right here. That throwback look.
He's ready to go to the neighborhood swinger party. I mean, what's going on? Just like
the swinger party, he would have to be wearing no shirt under the jacket.
That's a good point.
Really under shirt. I walked by him when he was on his way to makeup, and his jaw hit the floor.
Let's just be clear here that Lawrence is the one who knew exactly what you should and should not
Oh,
wear.
you already know.
Hey, notice how quickly he was on that?
No.
Hold on.
And you have to bring your keys and
My-
what else?
yeah.
What other
My-
etiquette goes into the neighborhood swinger party?
My game, there is no shame in it, baby. I already knew, so I got you covered.
I'm just like, what else goes into it, Lawrence?
I can't talk about all that.
Do you have to
We
bring
ain't-
snacks? Like, I don't know the etiquette.
Can you?
What's
Do
the
you bring the snacks
password?
or do you be the snack? See, that's the thing.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. That's right. If you were here with us yesterday, you have snacks today. You drink for free. Jay, did you have any FOMO after missing the swinger tips from Lawrence?
The swinger episode of Fantasy
Yes,
Football
yes.
Happy Hour?
Part one.
Yeah, I liked your get-up, looking like Jeremy Renner in the town, about to
I'll
rob
take it.
Fenway
It's
Park.
it's pretty
Now you're
good.
wearing a Mets jersey after
Yeah,
robbing Fenway
it's all
Park.
about balance.
Yeah,
That's
it's
right.
good.
Matthew?
I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily snacks. I also think drinks, you know. A
You
bottle
said-
of wine.
is it
I
orange
don't know.
slices?
Orange slices, you know, like again, like so for
Slices
halftime,
to
you know,
the
to
party.
right, you know, like,
Rehydrate.
yeah, rehydrate. I'm assuming. I don't know.
Ah,
I don't know. I asked Big Show to get me some research on this, and he hasn't done it yet.
Well, his exact words were that he didn't even need the computer for it. He was just ready to rock. He'll print it out for you today.
Okay, good.
So.
I look forward. I look forward to that. A
lot of love today. It's love-hate day.
It is love. Yeah, love-hate today. More love than hate.
We got flex plays for you and choose your lineup. And, of course, we'll close out with our
Yeah.
best bets because Thursday Night Football, Jets-Patriots tonight. But let's jump right into love-hate. What do you
Okay.
say? Well-rested, ready to rock?
I don't know that I'm rested. I don't know that I'm. There's a lot. Yeah. I had a bad night at the hotel last
I heard
night.
you dealt with some light motion sensors that woke you up.
This hotel.
No orange slices at the hotel?
Yeah, no orange lights at the hotel. For some reason, lights that went on, motion light, and I turned them all off because while I was writing, like they would go out. I'd be like just sitting there typing, and the lights would just suddenly go out, and I'd have to like get up and do that. It was like super annoying. But I'm like, all right, so I go to bed and I turn them all off. Like I make sure I turn everything off, like each lamp and then the front door, whatever. And 5 a.m. they just go, I get up to like go to the bathroom and everything, all of a sudden, lights aplenty.
Yeah.
Lights
Visualizing
aplenty.
this makes me so happy.
Yeah,
I can't
it really
tell
is
ya.
a joy.
Oh, it was awful.
The idea of you
It was
swearing at the
it was
rooftops.
absolutely awful. I will never stay at this hotel again.
Okay.
Yeah, this particular hotel. I'm not gonna.
They might sponsor the show one day.
What?
They might sponsor the show one day, so you keep it to yourself, Matthew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might end up doing a show from there. See how it goes.
Word to the NBC ad sales folks. If you guys can find out, from off the air what hotel I stayed in, I will never do a live read for this show. Now, do not bother selling it. Do not bother selling it, or make a deal with Jay because I will never. Yeah.
I have nothing against this place.
Yeah.
No.
Actually, I'm
Not
pro this
yet.
place. Because of
You know what?
the
I'm gonna
pitch
image
a
of
show
you.
for
I
that.
tell you what I'm going to do. I will pay for you. I will buy a night there. It's that
Yeah.
miserable experience.
Yeah.
I want.
That'd be strange.
Yeah, you and your wife to.
He has 3 young
to enjoy it.
kids. You think that's good? Lights
Everything's
are
an
going to phase
upgrade.
in?
Everything's an upgrade. I'd love light motion sensors at 5 a.m. being the worst thing about my sleep. It'd be great.
Guy, they were doing construction starting at 8:30.
Nothing to him. Unfazed.
Place is
I
a
hate construction.
blank hole. It's a blank hole. This hotel that I stayed in. It was outrageous. Is
All
what
right.
I'll tell you.
We're going to
Anyway.
bring the vibes back up.
Anyway,
Love, hate
it's definitely
day.
not a place for the swingers. If they all decide to move
sleep.
out of one of the neighborhood houses and go to the hotel.
Yeah.
This is not
Too
the
much
place
light.
for it.
Yeah.
Way too much.
Need
Too much
darkness
light.
for
Too much
that.
noise. The rooms weren't. Anyway, it's a disaster. The whole thing was a disaster.
People like to swing without construction.
I don't. I am assuming that's the case. I would not know.
That's what I've been told.
Run,
That's what
love,
you've
hate.
been told.
Yeah, I've heard the same.
Have you?
Yes.
That's great.
Love, hate running backs, and we're going to kick things off today.
The Mets in '86. If you've ever heard anything
I
about
know a
them,
lot about the 86 Mets.
the '86 Mets, you should talk to some of
That
them
hotel wouldn't
about.
fit the bill for them.
Well, just about neighborhood swinger parties. I mean, they were
yes.
doing all sorts of stuff in '86.
Wherever they traveled to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a lot more
You
problems than that.
Why don't you talk to some of them and come back to us with some research?
I probably won't bring that up at my other job, but we'll see.
Why not?
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
And you know what you should do? You should ask Emmy Award-winning Todd Zeal to ask those questions because he's not going to get fired. They love him.
Also, he won an Emmy. He asked the hard-hitting questions.
That's right. That's why.
Maybe that's actually what I need to do.
That's right.
to take
It's
home the Emmy.
it's your lack of journalistic fortitude that has held you back.
That's true. I need to take bolder steps.
I'm just saying.
All right,
let's
we'll
get
see
to
how
it.
it
Stop
goes.
talking.
All right, let's get to
football.
it here.
YouTube commenters are already bitching. All right, here we go.
Jordan Mason on the love list and doing his best CMC impression. But going back in August, we heard from Jordan Mason on him trying to act like CMC. Take a listen.
I actually bought a $3,000 one of those shooting jug machines this summer, and I was like, if I want to be something or something close to Christian, I gotta start catching something. In the meeting room, I sit beside him. I'm grateful and glad that I even get to sit beside him. I pick his brain every day. Hopefully he's not tired of me. Sometimes I still feel like I'm the rookie and I'm asking him so many questions. He probably like, dang, I got to switch my seat or something.
Love-hate running backs. Jordan Mason, Matthew, averaging 25 touches in his 2 starts.
He soaked it all up from Christian McCaffrey as well. 81% of the snaps he's playing. He's got 10 red zone rushes. Only one player has more in the NFL through 2 weeks than Jordan Mason. Through 2 weeks, by the way, it's a great matchup as the Rams, boy, did they miss Aaron Donald, right? They're Rams allowing 154 rushing yards per game. They're giving up 5 yards per clip to running backs. They've given up at least 25 fantasy points to running backs in both games this season. So Jordan Mason, we know Christian McCaffrey's not going to play in this game. Jordan Mason, he's a top 4 running back for me this week. Just wheels up, going to be another monster game for Jordan Mason. And it sounds like, Jay, that what he's done is he's sort of gleaned a bunch of information. He's just kind of, sat next to Christian McCaffrey, similar to how you are with me. Like just how you followed me, like just everywhere. Teach me about broadcasting, teach me about fantasy, teach me the ways,
Just learned about how to bring orange slices to halftime of a swingers party.
Exactly. All those things that you've learned from me.
Yeah, no, that's very apt. You are very much the CMC to my Jordan Mason. Actually, I don't like that comparison. We'll find a better one. Jordan Mason's a big deal. This week, his rushing line on DraftKings is 89.5. There's no one in the NFL who's above 75 outside of him. Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley are next up. So Jordan Mason, now you don't get the receiving, and he's set at 11.5 receiving yards, and that's the difference, the main difference between him and Christian McCaffrey, just in terms of their profile. But Jordan Mason, while McCaffrey's out, I think he's the favorite to lead the league in rushing yards.
And let's not forget, guys, Debo down. Debo was getting some looks in the backfield the first 2 weeks of this team. It's even more work for Jordan Mason.
Yeah.
All right, our next one on the list here, Zach Charbonnet. Kenneth Walker still not practicing, Jay, and we know how effective Charbonnet can be when he gets elevated to that RB1 status for Seattle.
Yep, I think it helps him as well, the fact that Tua is not going to be playing in this game. So just in terms of game script, the Seahawks are 4.5-point favorites. Dolphins' run defense just got shredded by Matthew's man, James Cook. Why are you smiling still?
Right, because I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. I like
so
that.
happy to be agreeing.
I'm so happy to be in a place where the lights go on when you tell them to go on.
Yes, it's a great benefit.
I'm very happy to be
society.
here. I'm damn glad to be here, right here, and not at that hotel,
that place,
that dark place.
Zach Charbonnet played
sir.
95% of the snaps. It's a lot.
Yes,
it's 5% short of 100, according to my math. So I think that's just the key with Charbonnet, is that Ken Walker not expected back. He's going to get a crazy amount of work in a game that they are expected to be leading. And just through volume alone, we didn't see the efficiency from Charbonnet, but through volume alone, that will give him an incredibly high floor.
Assuming Ken Walker remains out and doesn't play in this game, I have Charbonnet as a top 12 play. You mentioned the Miami defense, 6th most fantasy points allowed to running backs through 2 games of the season. And he's had 4 career games, Charbonnet has, where he's basically been the lead back. And he's averaging 19.5 career touches per game in those 4 career games where he's the lead back, over an 11% target share as well. He's a true 3-down back as well. I agree with you. In a game in which the Seahawks are at home and should be leading against a bad defense, Charbonnet wheels up, top 12 play for me this week, makes the love list.
Tony Pollard also makes the love list. He's got the Packers this week, averaging over 20 touches per game this season right now, Matthew, in it. Summer where we're like, hey, how much involvement will Tajay Spears have against Tony Pollard? It's been the Tony Pollard show.
Yeah, when he's not yelling at Will Levis, he's handing off the ball to Tony Pollard. That's what Brian Callahan likes to do. This season, He's got 77% of the team running back carries, Pollard does. He's averaging over 20 touches a game. His 18.5% target share is top 5 among running backs through 2 weeks this season here as well. And I like the matchup against the Packers, who so far this year have allowed the 7th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. Again, we thought coming into the season it was going to be a split between Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, and that has not been the case. It is clear sometimes we say, hey, follow the money, and sometimes that's really what you should do. Pollard got the big deal in the offseason, and they're treating him like it. They're using him as a number 1 running back, and in a home game in which the Titans need to win. They're 0-2, and they easily could, and honestly should be 2-0 or at least 1-1. This is a must-win game for the Titans. Yep. Tighten up.
What price is Will Levis to make another ridiculous decision, throwing fumbles from his knees?
I'm going on my high horse here for a second. I'm just going to I get it. A lot of people Will Levis has been getting dumped on all over the internet for 2 weeks, and I get it. I understand 2 bad plays that I'm sure if you talk to Will, he'd say, I wish I had those plays back. But you know what? And I will tell you honestly, I've interviewed the guy. I think he's an awesome guy, so I'm biased here, right? He's just an awesome human being. But multiple times I've talked to him. But what I will tell you though is he's trying to make a play. He's trying to win, right? You know what I mean? And this is how you learn. This is a guy that was thrust into a bad situation last year, and now he's under a new offense. And so, give me a quarterback that's trying to do too much than a quarterback that doesn't, right? You know what I mean? I think about, Cam Newton in the Super Bowl, and the fumble, and he's just somebody else get to that. You know what I mean? We've seen time and time again where there are quarterbacks that don't do enough or that they make a business decision. And so, okay, yes. Did he make 2 bad mistakes? He did. But honestly, you know what? Block somebody. How about that? The Titans' offensive line has not been what they need to be. The defense, I guess I'm just saying, football's a team sport. I don't think both those losses are both on Will Levis at all. I think there's more good there than bad. And, he made some gutty plays in both. I mean, the Jets game, there were a couple of times where he should have been dead to rights, sacked in the backfield.
He found a way out of it.
He found a way out of it. And can't have an arm. I don't know. If I'm a Titans fan, calm down. They're all angry, Titans fans. Calm down, you guys. Calm down.
Brian Callahan's angry. Brian Callahan was not happy.
Yeah. No, and I get it.
No one's ever going to question Will Levis's competitiveness or his courage. He might be too courageous is his problem, that he's going to get himself hurt. But certainly you love that. You love the fire. It's just that he needs to make the correct decision.
And he's learning. He's a young quarterback.
It's the only way you learn.
It's the only way you learn. It's the only way you learn. You know what I mean? Peyton Manning led the NFL in interceptions his rookie year. All right, it's the only way you learn. Anyway, back off Will Levis. I don't know. I hate when people just not even specifically Will Levis, but they just dump on players. We'll get to this in quarterback for a second, but after Kyler Murray, again, he's my ride or die, obviously, so I'm not objective here, but Kyler Murray last week has an unbelievable game, right? He has a perfect passer rating. He destroys the Rams at home. He makes plays that very few, if any, quarterbacks in the NFL can actually make. And instead of praising Kyler Murray, you know what I say? It's enjoy it until, Call of Duty 6 comes out in October or whatever.
That's a pretty good joke.
Right? I mean, no, but I'm just you know what? It was stupid of the Cardinals general manager, who, by the way, is no longer there. Don't get me started on the Cardinals general manager, the former general manager. But, no, seriously, it was stupid of them to even put that in a contract. Yes. It was dumb. He's your franchise guy. You know what I mean? And this kid goes out and literally has a perfect passer rating. And there's still a-holes on the internet just they can't be hey, Kyler, well, that was a really good game. It's just video games. F you guys. Anyway, just I'm all for criticizing players. The show is literally called Love Hate, but at some point, make it about what's, I don't know. Yeah. They're human beings. F you guys. F everybody.
Point taken.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Saying.
What did this hotel do to you?
You have no idea.
Man needs to go to a swingers party.
I do.
It's you returned.
Somebody sent me an invite to a swingers party.
Yeah. All right, some others.
I'm going to bring Connor in his jumpsuit.
No undershirt. No undershirt.
Me and my orange slices.
No undershirt. What?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring Connor and a bunch of orange slices.
No Lawrence.
No Lawrence.
He has the tips.
I might need to bring Lawrence too. Jay, you can stay home.
Yeah.
Some others receiving votes. Zach Moss, Zamir White. Listen, if you're going to play Zamir White one more time, do it now against the Panthers.
If ever there was a week, it's against Carolina. Panthers have allowed the second most rushing yards to running back this season. Both Kamara and Dobbins rushed for over 80 yards and a score against the Panthers. Zach Moss, much like Tony Pollard, is the guy. Zach Moss is the guy for Cincinnati, and he gets my Commanders, who, are their bottom 10 in yards per carries allowed to running backs. Devin Singletary scored against us, for the love of God. Zach Moss is going to go off on Monday night. And by the way, the same reason I like Zach Moss is why I like Austin Ekeler. None of our wide receivers, not Terry McLaurin. Oh, it's Austin Ekeler that leads the Commanders in receiving yards through 2 games. He's got a 13% target share. Commanders over a touchdown underdog to the Bengals. They're going to be down. They're going to be throwing. And when they're throwing, they're going to be throwing to Austin Ekeler on Monday night. Bengals are going to be up. They're going to be running. That's why Zach Moss, both guys, make others receiving votes in the love list in week 3.
We move over to the hate list here and start with Rachaad White right now. Denver does have the second highest success rate against rushing plays. We know White needs pass game volume to really, I'm talking big volume, Matthew, to be effective.
He's averaging 2 yards per carry.
It's essentially falling forward when you get the ball.
Well, he's 6 foot. So
Right.
my point is that if he stood up tall and put the football on his helmet and then just fell forward, he would gain more yards by doing that than he's actually doing by running the ball, because 2 yards is again 6 feet. So it'd be like 6 feet and however big a football is. Like six, it'd be like six, it'd be like 2 yards and 3 inches if he just fell down.
Yep.
Yeah, if he just fell down versus what he's doing running the ball. So far, by the way, he's only got 60% of the running back carries so far.
How's a football 3 inches long?
Whatever. Just like if you're holding it like this, how tall do you think it is?
Yeah,
Like, I'm just saying, if you've got it on a helmet,
3 inches.
what?
We'll call it 2.5 yards.
3,
He
6,
can get.
like,
I don't
no,
think he's going to
seriously,
take
a
our
football's
advice.
like that size. What is it, 6 inches? I don't know. Like, what? I don't know.
Length of a football.
Whatever. I'm making a joke, like you're going to kill me on inches?
Literally
Like, whatever.
11 inches.
Is it 11 inches?
Yeah, so you're way off.
Okay,
You're
whatever. Way off. I'm not an
3
NFL
inches.
player.
3 inches is like that.
I was just like, whatever. I don't know. I failed, whatever that is.
Whatever that is. You
We'll
failed
call it
football?
geometry.
No, it's not geometry, but like, is it? And what is it
Oh,
like
my
when
God.
you
It's
measure
terrifying.
shit?
Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, you're thinking of the proper shot football.
No.
That's what it is.
That might be. I don't know. What do you want to do?
Circumference
Hey,
of football is 28 inches.
I think the main point that we're learning here is that Rachaad White would be better off just standing up and trying to fall forward. He'd get almost
boy.
3 yards a carry versus the 2 that he's currently
Which is
getting.
a big difference right now.
I'm just saying.
Yes.
Just something. Someone get Todd Bowles on the phone. I'm going to tell him how to do this.
Okay.
And explain to him what Rachaad White should be doing. All right, anyway. By the way, he's also averaging he's 60% of the team running back carry so far. Denver, for all their struggles, second highest success rate against running plays. They've actually played pretty good run defense so far this year. Bucky Irvin is coming, I'm telling you. This is going to be a thing this year. So, Rachaad White outside my top 20 for the week.
Jay, the Texans also doing a good job against running backs in fantasy so far this year. Puts Aaron Jones on the hate list for Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been great against running backs. Also, 2-point favorites on the road in Minnesota. Aaron Jones, costly fumble against San Francisco. I'm just a little skeptical. Everyone's really into the Vikings right now. The Sam Darnold moment is coming. It's coming. It kind of came against San Francisco. It's just that he had, to his credit, the amazing 97-yard touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson. I just wouldn't be anointing the Vikings as some 12-5 Super Bowl contender with Darnold until he shows it over the course of at least half a season.
Yeah, listen, you mentioned the Tyler Taylor usage. It's also a tough matchup against the Texans, right? 4.7 yards per reception. That's what we're allowing. That's 5th best in the NFL. So I think they'll control him through the air. They allow 2.3 yards per carry to running backs. That's best in the NFL. Houston has also given up the 3rd fewest fantasy points to opposing running backs. So, Aaron Jones also outside my top 20. I think he's merely a flex play in week 3.
Devin Singletary outside the top 30 here, Matthew. The Giants have the 2nd lowest implied team total going into the weekend.
Yeah, and he's not playing my Commanders this week. He's playing a real defense. The Browns. Last week, Cleveland held Travis Etienne to 58 total yards. Since the start of last year, teams that face Cleveland averaged the 6th fewest rushes per game, 6th fewest rushing attempts. So I just think Cleveland, the Giants' defense has struggled a little bit. I just think I think New York is going to have to abandon the run sooner than they want to in this game.
Yep. Placed a little wager yesterday while you guys were in here talking about nonsense, and you're not going to like it.
All
I'm
right.
going to tell you.
Okay.
New York Football Giants to win the NFC East at 80-1.
Okay.
80-1. They're
you could've
one
drove
game
that
out
money
of
to the
first,
book yourself.
Matthew. They're one game out of first. You can't be 80-1. The Cowboys look terrible. Jalen Hurts looks broken at the moment with the Eagles. You're one game out of 4. There's only 3 other teams in the division. One is your Commanders. They're no good. Giants should have beaten the Commanders.
But they didn't.
You're one game out of first. You can't be 80-1 2 weeks into the season.
They're one game out of first because we've only played 2 games.
Exactly. That's my point. Division's wide open.
For now.
80
for
to
another
1.
2 weeks.
I need to get your wife on the phone.
There's not a 1.5% chance the Giants win the division, like 9 and 8,
no
and
way.
the Eagles and Cowboys look
How
bad.
much did you bet on this at 80 to 1?
A reasonable amount.
You're just pissing away money. Just send it to
80
me.
to 1.
Send it to the hotel to fix their
Send it to the
lighting
hotel
problem.
to fix that.
Daniel Jones
For the love
looked
of
good.
God.
He looked all right against the Commanders.
He always does.
Yeah, it was the Commanders.
Just don't be shocked. Well, be a little shocked.
I'm going to be shocked. I'm absolutely going to be shocked.
Listen.
I refuse to not be shocked.
This
If
isn't
the
a
Giants win the-
pro-Giants bet. It's an anti-Cowboys, anti-Eagles, anti-
Did backup
Cliff
producer
Kingsbury.
Pete get in your head on this?
Oh my God.
Pete likes the bet.
Yeah, of course
he does.
He's
Pete's
a
a diehard
Giants
Giants
fan.
fan.
Just
He's
telling
also
you,
crazy.
80 to 1. It's not the craziest thing in the world. It would be one of the crazier things. It's not the craziest.
I will say this. I'm going to say this
Rattle.
on national TV. If camera one,
Is this
get me
national
to camera
TV?
one.
There
Yeah,
it
this
is.
is national
More like
TV. Yeah, it
streaming
goes out.
service.
It's Peacock. It's whatever streaming.
You can technically
national.
watch it
You can
anywhere in
watch
the
it
country.
literally anywhere. Hey, YouTube. If the New York Giants, mark my words, if the New York Giants win the NFC East, I will get a tattoo placed on Connor Rogers' ass. I will do that. I will do that.
New York Giants logo?
New York Giants logo.
The helmet
on
logo?
Connor. I will do
All
that.
right.
I will put that tattoo on Connor's
You'll
butt.
pay for it.
Yeah, I'll pay for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have a
Very
professional.
fair.
I'll have a professional do
Yes,
it. Don't worry
yeah,
about it.
yes,
It's
that's
not going to
right.
be me with the ink. No, for the love of God. No, stop it. I'll get somebody a professional. He'll put the gloves and
Okay.
wipe
The
it. You know, he'll do the whole thing.
Disinfect it,
Yeah,
yeah.
the thing.
Good.
Don't
Okay,
worry
so I
about
don't
it.
get an
But I
infection
just like that's how
of a
confident
Giants
I
tattoo
am.
on my ass.
That's how confident
Yeah.
I am that their bet is going to fail. That I'm willing to bet Connor's butt.
I'm glad it's someone else.
I'm
I don't-
actually
I
like,
don't need-
I'm not even nervous. Most people don't agree to wagers that involve them for no reason, but I'm really not nervous about this one.
You just wait.
80 to 1.
Malik Neighbors is the real deal. No one else is the real deal. But
We're off the rails.
I'm
We're
glad
so
that-
off the rails.
I'm just glad that it's not you doing it, Matthew. Because the idea with you with gloves in
No.
that position with the
Oh,
tattoo
and no,
pen.
and I'm doing it. No, I promise you, I'm doing this for all the tattoo artists in the world. No one wants to see my naked ass. But it's probably why I don't get invited to swinger parties.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
That's the reason. Love, hate, pass
boy.
catchers.
The gloves.
Let's start with Jamar Chase. Listen, the Commanders, we do this every other segment, but the Commanders, this might shock you, have allowed the most fantasy points to wide receivers.
He's my number one wide receiver this week. You had me at Commanders. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Malik Neighbors all went completely off against Washington. Malik Neighbors 10 for 127 and a touchdown. We don't expect T. Higgins to play in this game as well. So once again, I think Jamar Chase gets the kind of target share that Malik Neighbors did. Mike Evans in week 1, by the way, 5 for 61 and 2 touchdowns, 8 for 83 and a score for Godwin in week 1. No team has allowed more receiving touchdowns to wide receiver through 2 games than my Washington Commanders. Hail the Commanders, hail victory. Jamar Chase is going to just go off. Like this is like a, here's a better bet than your New York Giants to win the NFC East. Like 3 touchdowns for Jamar Chase, 2 touchdowns on Monday night on DraftKings, 3 touchdowns. Like do a ladder bet.
It's fine.
Do
It's
a
not
ladder
80 to
bet.
1.
Huh?
It's not 80 to 1. That's the beauty of my bet. Pays out more when the Giants
Yes,
win.
if
when
you
they
win,
salute
but you're not going to.
and win the division.
This is how they get you. You understand that, right?
I'm just telling you, 80 to 1, New York Giants. Listen, there has never been a better get-right spot in the history of the Milky Way galaxy than Jamar Chase on Monday Night Football in primetime going up against your
I
Washington
agree.
Commanders secondary.
1,000%.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's one of those Jamar Chase games where it's like 177 yards, 2 touchdowns, lights the world on fire. Yeah, try and buy it. If you can trade low for Jamar Chase, like if you can flip like Tyreek Hill for Jamar Chase or something, like now is the time.
Yeah.
Brandon Aiyuk also looking for a get-right game. It's been a slow start for him since the holdout, but listen, Deebo Samuel's target share out the window in this game, Matthew.
29%.
29%. I mean, it's insane. Now Brandon Aiyuk, who's been out on the field, this is really his passing offense.
Played 60% of the snaps in week 1, played 88% of the snaps in week 2, so they're ramping him up. You mentioned no Deebo, so that's certainly going to help. He had 5 games last year with 8 or more targets, and so you certainly expect him to get that with Deebo out there. He averaged over 20 fantasy points per game in those games, and through 2 games, by the way, the Los Angeles Rams have allowed the most yards and the most touchdowns on deep passes in the NFL. Brock Purdy's going to take a shot or two to Brandon Aiyuk. I have him as a top 10 play this week.
Yeah, Kyler Murray just had a perfect passer rating against the Rams, and Brock Purdy's a better passer than Kyler Murray. So figure that out.
DeVonta Smith makes the love list. No A.J. Brown. DeVonta Smith, his target share went up to 34.5% here, Jay. When A.J. Brown's out, I mean, this is DeVonta Smith's offense. It's pretty much the Niners discussion we just had with Aiyuk.
Yep. And also like a sneaky thing that people wouldn't have expected before the season, but this could be game script friendly to the Eagles passing the ball. They're 2.5-point dogs against the New Orleans Saints, which is kind of insane because the look ahead on this line preseason was Eagles minus 3.5, and now it's Saints minus 2.5 because of how good the Saints have looked. And DeVonta Smith, we'll see about the health of the Saints secondary. That's another factor here, but no, just through volume alone, he has an incredibly high floor and a high ceiling as well in the dome.
Eagles traveling on a short week to New Orleans. Obviously, they played the Monday night game. This game is in New Orleans as well. Since the start of last year, the Saints allow the 5th most yards per game to the slot. Obviously, you've got Lattimore on the outside there. Well, 50% of DeVonta Smith's targets this year have come in the slot, where he's actually more effective. So, credit Kellen Moore, who's moving him around and getting him in space. So, I have him as a top 10 play this week, DeVonta Smith.
Brock Bowers, the top tight end on the love list here. The Panthers have allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to tight ends, Matthew. Brock Bowers looks great with Gardner Minshew right now.
He does. I don't care what the calendar says. It's Brocktober, baby. On the season, he has a 25% target
September
share.
19th,
Second,
playing
it's
at home.
Brocktober. A football's 3 inches, and it's Brocktober, Jay. There's only one tight end that has at least 6 receptions in both games this season, and his name is Brock effing Bowers. Panthers, by the way, also allowing the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Only one team in the NFL has allowed multiple touchdowns to tight ends so far this season, and it is your Carolina Panthers, Jay Croucher. The Carolina Panthers, of course, a favorite team of swinging neighborhood parties everywhere. Keep pounding. Brock Bowers is my tight end 3.
Yeah, no, look, there's a very good chance Brock Bowers ends the season as the number 1 tight end in football. That's very within the range of outcomes.
Yes.
And he was on the hate list for you preseason.
I have fully owned that. I've apologized for that here on national television. I have mentioned that on social media. It's in my column when my love-hate column comes out later today, and Brock Bowers is in there. I copped to it, owned. Yep. Asked and answered. I have full mea culpa on that. Dead wrong. Could not have been more wrong. I mean, the kind of wrong that Jay Croucher is about betting a lot of money on the Giants to win the NFC East. It's that level of wrong that I was on Brock Bowers, 1,000%. Totally own it.
I shouldn't say things like this, because here's the thing. It's like I think the Giants win the NFC East, like a 3% chance, and 80-1 is like a 1.2%. So I think it's a good bet. But there's a 97% chance I'm wrong, and that's what you guys are going to focus on.
That's exactly what I'm going to focus on.
Exactly.
And you know who else is going to focus on it? Yeah. Connor's ass cheeks, because there's a 3% chance he's getting a tattoo.
Yeah. It'd be glorious.
Say about 0.0.
Come on, G-Man. Let's get into Deshaun Watson's
Give me more
race.
reasons to root against the
Listen,
Giants.
I don't know if Kristen would like it, but you know who would like it if this bet does come through and you have to get this tattoo?
Producer Pete?
Yeah, well, Producer Pete and SNY. This could be good for your
I
career.
don't know if SMY would enjoy this.
Right? We don't know for a.
Our Jets pre and
Jets.
post game analyst has a Giants tattoo on his ass.
Think about the kind of publicity you would get.
yeah.
People would tune in.
Yes, 15 minutes of fame. That's what I need.
For an eternity
Yeah.
of Together Blue, or whatever the stupid Giants slogan is.
Giants
on his
pride.
ass.
Giants pride, whatever it is.
That's where I draw the line. I won't get Giants pride. tattoos.
That's fine, fair.
Just to help
I'll allow
them
that.
out.
I'll allow that.
Some other pass
Go Big
catchers
Blue. I think it's what it'll
receiving
be.
votes.
Go Big Blue.
Jamison Williams, Jackson Smith, and Jigba coming off a massive week. Adam Thielen, now that Andy Dalton is back under center, it's Adam Thielen time. Jordan Whittington, the day 3 rookie for the Rams, and Hunter Henry tonight on Thursday Night Football because, quite frankly, this is who the Patriots throw the ball to.
They really do. I mean, he's got a 50% target share last week, 32% for the season. Hunter Henry does. Patriots lead the NFL in tight end target share through 2 weeks. Just a couple of guys there. Like JSN, the breakout is real. Since last season, Dolphins allowed the 4th highest catch rate to the slot. I'm a believer in that. Obviously, we talked about the Arizona-Detroit game, high implied total there. Through 2 games, Arizona allows the 5th highest catch rate to wide receivers. So Jameson Williams, who has a 20% target share in both games this year, not combined, but each game he's had at least a 20% target share. The Adam Thielen one, I want to bring this one up, right? There was one game last year where Andy Dalton started. It was week 3 at Seattle, and he went 11 for 145 and a touchdown. Now, I do think the offense goes through Deontay Johnson with Andy Dalton, but I have a sneaky suspicion. Denny Carter put this out. Our friend Denny put this out on Twitter as well. Sneaky suspicion that Andy Dalton actually lights up the Raiders. Like, I don't know if they win or not, but I'm just, like, I think Andy Dalton's going to be a lot better than people think. And maybe just because expectations are so low after Bryce Young, but I think Andy Dalton actually is going to be, like, low-key a legit QB2 in fantasy. Thielen going to be a part of it. Through 2 weeks, Raiders have allowed the 7th most yards to the slot. And you mentioned Whittington as well. Look, after Cooper Kupp got injured, 62% of his routes from the slot, Whittington did. He was a preseason favorite as well. And you mentioned this the other day. Kid can block.
He can block, which gets him on the field, which in the Rams offense, if you're on the field, usually good things happen. So keep an eye on Whittington.
And we've talked about the fact that we expect them to be down in this game and having to throw.
Yeah, when Bryce Young got benched, the line on DraftKings for Raiders-Panthers moved from Raiders -7 to Raiders -5.5, which I'm not sure Bryce Young's actively watching the betting odds update, but that would be such a slap to the face. It's like I've been benched from Andy Dalton and the line's moved 1.5 points in Carolina's favor. So that's where they're at the moment.
That's a big move.
Yeah,
that's a big move for a quarterback. Anyway, in a crazy deep super flex league. Last night, I dropped Bo Nix for Andy Dalton. And Scott Fishbowl. Actually, Scott Fishbowl, I did that in my league. Like,
good call.
That's what I think. By the way, Bo Nix immediately got picked up in my league, and I'm just like, that's somebody who hasn't watched Bo Nix play in 2 weeks.
Start Bo Nix.
There's
not even
there.
two quarterbacks.
Yes, anyway.
There's nothing there. There's something there. I mean, Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels are my 2 quarterbacks in that league, so this is just insurance. But I think there's a chance Andy Dalton is top 20 playable at quarterback the rest of the year.
The hate list for pass catchers, headlined by Michael Pittman, who it feels like he has some real estate on this side of things. 5 straight games with fewer than 12 fantasy points dating back to last season right now, Matthew.
It's been bad, and Anthony Richardson is struggling, obviously, with the accuracy. 47% catch rate through 2 games for Michael Pittman. Previous 2 years, that was over 70%. He's never been a big red zone guy. Through 2 games, he's only got 1 red zone target. Colts are 5th in rush rate inside the 10-yard line. When you get inside the 10, you want to run. They're running, when they get inside. They're giving it to Richardson or JT. They're just not throwing to Michael Pittman. So, for a guy that's had under 5 receptions and under 35 receiving yards in both games this year, averaging less than 5 fantasy points per game, outside my top 25 for the week against a very good Bears defense.
Jaylen Waddle also makes the hate list, Matthew. It's Skylar Thompson time in Miami, which could bump down Jaylen Waddle quite a bit, unfortunately. He's played with Jaylen Waddle before, 11.8 points per game in 3 career games with Skylar Thompson.
Yep. So there's 2 problems. Even with Tua, Jaylen Waddle only had 9 targets across the first 2 games.
Yeah.
So that's a red flag because they were trailing in the entirety, basically, of both those games. They only took the lead very late against Jacksonville in week 1, and then they get blown out by Buffalo. And then the second thing, to your point, Connor, he just hasn't had that rapport with Skylar Thompson, whereas like Tyreek still gets fed. Tyreek's still going to get his targets. It's not going to be probably the same upside for Tyreek, but yeah, some concerns with Jaylen Waddle. He's still Jaylen Waddle, so if you put Jaylen Waddle in your flex, go for it by all means.
He needs
but
one play.
Still, certainly the ceiling is
Obviously,
lower.
small sample size, but he's played 3 career games with Skylar Thompson. He averages under 12 fantasy points per game. Seahawks played better defense under Mike McDonald. They've done a real nice job there so far. Seattle allowing the 3rd lowest completion rate on deep passes as well. Feels like this is a Devon Achane game. They're playing at Seattle, one of the toughest places to play. Mike McDaniel just I want to take pressure off Skylar. I'm just going to try to do motion and swing passes and just run Devon Achane. Raheem Mostert returned to practice on a limited basis as well, so maybe you see both guys out there. Waddle's outside my top 30 for the week.
Much like Waddle, Terry McLaurin also outside the top 30 receivers. Jaden Daniels right now is the lowest average depth of target among all starting quarterbacks. That's hurt McLaurin this year.
He's averaging 4.9 yards per reception, Connor. In fact, only 2 of his 8 catches this year have gained 10 yards or more. Like it is. It's been dink and dunk so far through 2 weeks for Jaden Daniels as well. By the way, and that's something that plays into what Cincinnati does well defensively. Wide receivers facing the Bengals this year have the 3rd lowest average depth of target on the season. Now, some of that's because they played Jacoby Brissett, but still, the fact of the matter is that, Terry McLaurin just hasn't been part of this offense. You heard me talk about Austin Ekeler. Literally, Austin Ekeler is leading the team in receiving yards. Terry McLaurin outside my top 30. I need to see it, until I can unfortunately trust him.
Even Brian Robinson catching the ball.
Yeah.
It's gone to the running backs, the tight ends.
Zach
not
Ertz.
gone to
Yeah,
Terry McLaurin.
if
there's
there's
Ben Sinnott.
Yeah, but it just feels, it's weird when you watch those games. It just feels like that, it's like that Terry McLaurin's a guy. He's not the main focal point of the passing offense the way that like a CeeDee Lamb might be for Dallas. It's just like, oh, we're going to throw to Noah Brown. Oh, Diami Brown. Oh, Jamison Crowder's out there. and it's just like, here's, this guy who's one of the highest paid wide receivers in the NFL, and he's one of the best talent-wise, and it just, for whatever reason, so far they haven't been able to get him the ball.
Our last one here, Dalton Schultz. I mean, pretty simple here, Jay. He's got below a 10% target share in both games this season, 6 total targets. There's too many mouths to feed. He's not involved.
Yep, ton of mouths to feed. And right now, like the Texans, who are 2-0 and they're exactly where they need to be, offense hasn't lit the world up so far. Right now, they're 11th in EPA per players in offense, which is below the New York Jets in terms of efficiency, which might surprise people given the Jets haven't really been lining it up either. But right now, this offense, it's Nico in the passing game, Joe Mixon when healthy in the run game. They want to run the ball. They've been negative pass rate over expectation the entirety of the Bobby Slowick era. And just if there's going to be a guy who's going to suddenly break out, I would put Tank Dell top of that list for the Texans, and then Diggs, and then Dalton Schultz is he is very much the 4th guy in the passing game.
He's actually the 5th, believe it or not, because Joe Mixon has more targets than Dalton Schultz through 2 games. So he's 5th on the team, and so far through 2 games, you're like, all right, well, fine. He's a mid-tier tight end too, whatever. And you're like, well, so he's probably a touchdown-dependent tight end, like so many tight ends are. Well, this is a guy that doesn't have a red zone or end zone target through 2 games, so anything's always possible in an NFL game, but just in terms of who's most likely to be a touchdown-dependent tight end, there are other guys out there on your waiver wire that are better than Dalton Schultz. I just no confidence at all in Dalton Schultz even in the deepest of leagues.
Dominate this NFL season with a Fantasy Life Plus subscription. Get weekly rankings, start sit advice, DFS analysis, and betting tools. Use promo code SEASON20 for 20% off. Go to fantasylife.com/rotoworld to learn more. We're taking our first break. When we're back, love-hate continues with the quarterbacks right after this.
So how do you feel about how everybody was talking about you versus now?
Man, it's a switch up. Yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is, but we got to keep doing it. I got to keep doing it. I'm my biggest critic, bro. I expect greatness out of myself. I expect greatness out of, our team, because I know, what I'm saying? You've seen a glimpse of it, the work we put in. That's been my whole life. You know what I'm saying? My whole life's dreams is to win Super Bowls, bro.
Love-hate quarterbacks. That was Kyler Murray on, the doubters.
Yeah.
Some would say.
There were no doubters on the Fantasy Football Happy Hour set, I'll tell you that. And now here's Cards PR, Mark Dalton. Kyler Murray's game jersey and ball from Sunday's 41-10 win versus the Rams are headed to Canton to be displayed at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Murray became just the 2nd player in NFL history with 250 passing yards, 50-plus rushing yards, and a perfect 158.3 passer rating. The other, Cincinnati's Ken Anderson in 1974. Ride or effing die, Connor Rogers. Let's hear it. By the way, I liked him, doing the broadcast while driving the bike. We should do a show like that, the 3 of us.
Is that like a little electric bike, like an e-bike?
Good pacing.
I don't know what that was, but here's Kyler Murray just balling out. I can't watch this play too much. He's my number 2 quarterback for the week as well. Like we've talked about this Lions-Cardinals game, 52.5 over-under. It's the highest game total in week number 2. Kyler's had at least 50. He obviously had 50 yards against the Rams, but he's actually had at least 50 rushing yards in both games this season. Through 2 weeks, the Lions are actually a bottom 12 pass defense, and since the start of last year, only 4 teams allow more fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks than the Detroit Lions. Give me all the Kyler this week. And for the rest of the season, he's my ride or die for a reason.
Yep. 2 point, Lions defense has really struggled to think back. One, what Baker Mayfield was able to do, not a massive statistical game, but still able to succeed. And then also, they got a ton of pressure on Matthew Stafford in week 1, and Stafford was still able to put up pretty big statistical line. And now the Cardinals offense, I think, is better than the Bucs or Rams offense. They're the number 3 offense in the league so far, largely because of your man, Kyler Murray.
There you go.
Joe Burrow comes in as a top 5 play with the QBs this week. He's got the Commanders. Jay, this one's pretty simple. Cincinnati has the highest implied team total this week.
Yep. And Joe Burrow, I think that he is getting, his stats don't look great so far, but he's gotten penalized by having to play against the Patriots and Chiefs defenses to expect them to finish as elite defenses. And the other thing as well is that Burrow has been cruelled by drops this year. When you look at the underlying stuff, he's getting very unlucky so far. Yeah. And the main thing for me is just that against Kansas City, he physically looked fine. He just looked like Joe Burrow. Yep. He's throwing the deep ball. He was the better quarterback in that game. He outplayed Patrick Mahomes. I think the Bengals probably deserved to win. So I think you can have great confidence that if they can make my man Daniel Jones, the leader of the future division champion New York Giants, look very solid against the Commanders, then he is going to do whatever he wants.
Daniel Jones was a top 6 fantasy quarterback against my Commanders.
That's right.
I mean,
that's
the stat.
Finisher.
That's the stat. Look, I will say this, that in fact, dating back to last season, you talk about my quarterbacks here, right? Quarterbacks facing the Commanders. Everyone wants to give Dave Canales all this credit for resurrecting quarterbacks. How about my Commanders defense? 8 of the last 10 quarterbacks to face Washington have scored at least 18 or more fantasy points as well. Baker Mayfield and Daniel Jones, obviously both top 6 against them. I think you make an argument Burrow's better than both of them.
Is it a red flag that Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith both look the best they ever had in their entire careers right now, neither working with Dave Canales?
He
gets credit for the initial resurrection.
He gets credit for the initial
rebuilding
resurrection.
someone. But you're right. They are standalone, looking good right now.
Yeah, there's no question about that, by the way. No team has a higher implied team total, by the way, in week 3 than the Cincinnati Bengals as well. So Burrow is my QB5.
Brock Purdy coming in as a top 10 play here, Matthew. The Rams are allowing a league-high 9.9 yards per pass attempt.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this Rams defense a lot over the show as well. You can sort of sense a theme with all these guys. It all does kind of work in together. I mean, the Rams we just talked about Kyler too, right? I mean, Kyler Murray had a perfect passer rating against these same Rams defense. They're allowing passing touchdowns. It's going to the Hall of Fame, for the love of God. Like,
That's
you know,
aggressive.
I mean,
Bit much.
yeah, the Rams are allowing passing touchdowns at the 3rd highest rate in the NFL so far this season. So yeah, Brock Purdy, I think,
He'll be okay.
top 10 quarterback this week.
Yep, another bet you'll hate. Connor doesn't like it either. Placed the wager on Brock Purdy MVP, 22-1, running it back, round 2. Favorite for the 1 seed. Purdy's, I think, the most likely guy to have the best statistical case and profile like he did last season. Kind of scoffing because
nobody wants to give him the credit.
No.
Well, he's got no CMC or Debo now.
But right, I don't hate that. I don't hate that bet because
No,
I
I
mean,
don't
like
hate
legitimately
it.
last
Not the
year,
Giants 80-1.
Brock Purdy, like before the Christmas game against the Ravens, Brock Purdy
He
was
had it.
among the
He
favorites.
was minus 250.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You're right.
Right to be so.
So why is he 22-1 now? It's not like Mahomes is. Mahomes is
no,
plus
no.
260. Mahomes doesn't
Name
look good.
recognition.
He's got 3 picks already.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
call back.
We did a thing yesterday. I don't know, you probably didn't watch the show. I'm sure you have it, on your DVR that you'll watch at
Yeah,
home.
it's on my DVR.
But
It's on a streaming service. You don't need a DVR of this show. You can go on YouTube if you want.
It's on a physical DVD that I downloaded.
we print them out and we send them out to
VHS.
fans. But anyway, just that he recorded it.
There you go.
Anyway, I was just trying to make the joke, which is just that we talked about.
Others receiving votes. Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins. If you need someone this week. Derek Carr, top 10 play. QB 10, Kirk Cousins, QB 15. Jay, I feel like you've been in on the Saints before it was the hot thing to do.
Yeah.
Let's give you credit for
No,
that.
I'm driving the Saints bandwagon, driving it right to the moon.
What's wrong with this show today?
I don't know. Derek Carr's been the best quarterback in football so far. He's been the best. It's 2 weeks, but he did against one of those weeks against the Panthers, which whatever, that's not great. But the Cowboys have a real defense, and he completely lit them up. Also, this Eagles defense idea of Vic Fangio is going to come in and fix it looks just as bad as it did last year. Getting lit up. I don't know what they were doing on that last drive against Kirk Cousins. None of those parts, yes, he did whatever he wanted. So I believe in the Saints. I think they're real. I think this is a proper team. I think this team can win the NFC. I think they are a legitimate team, and I think they're going to light up this very suspect Eagles pass defense.
I completely agree. I mean, and our friends at DraftKings agree, obviously, by the fact that they're actually favorites in this game. Now, the Super Bowl's in New Orleans. Like, the Saints having a home game in the Super Bowl is very much in play this year, assuming they stay healthy. And to your point about the Eagles' defense, like one of the things we've talked about is the fact that Derek Carr has always been able to throw a very good deep ball, and that they use play action effectively. Clint Kubiak is actually finally using Rashid Shaheed in the way that he should. Well, through 2 weeks, the Eagles have allowed the 2nd highest passer rating on deep passes. You can throw deep on Philadelphia through 2 games, so I expect them to attempt that. Derek Carr, Ivan's QB 10 as well. And you mentioned Kirk Cousins against Kansas City. Like, weirdly, the Chiefs through 2 weeks have allowed the 2nd most passing yards in the league. Teams facing the Chiefs this year are averaging over 38 pass attempts a game. I thought Cousins looked better, not great, but he looked better against the Eagles. And just, I think, game script here against the Chiefs on Sunday night, he's going to have to throw.
2 quarterbacks on the hate list, both outside the top 20 in Justin Herbert, who's banged up right now and not throwing a ton, and then Trevor Lawrence against the Bills defense that's been pretty stingy out of the gate, Matthew.
And he's looked bad. Through 2 weeks, by the way, the Bills allowing the 5th fewest yards per completion, the 7th lowest passer rating, and they faced Kyler Murray and Tua Tagovailoa. And now they get Trevor Lawrence, who's struggled. Week 13 of last year. That was the last time that Trevor Lawrence had 18 or more fantasy points in a game. He's no longer, unfortunately, an elite fantasy quarterback. And he hasn't been for a while. And through 2 games this year, he's got a 51% completion rate. Game is at Buffalo. Just the entire Jags offense just doesn't look right, and I just can't imagine trusting him. He's outside my top 20 for the week. You see how they last week Jacksonville changed their stadium name to be Trevor. What it was? It's like Evermore Bank. Like what was it? No, it was like
I can't sell this
Everbank. It was like no Trevor Bank, and they called it Trevor Bank Stadium.
Yeah.
Trevor Bank Stadium. They should call it Never Bank Stadium.
Okay.
There you go.
Wow.
God bless.
It's a drop off from the earlier strong humor in the show.
There you go. 2 shows on Saturday. Tip your waitresses. Buy the curly fries.
Yep.
God bless. God bless America. Yep. Also, Justin Herbert banged up playing Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Thank you. No thanks.
Bad recipe.
Yeah, Pittsburgh might have the best defense in football.
Yeah. Outside my top 20.
It's time to choose your lineup, brought to you by Jameson.
Oh, yeah.
Join our unofficial call to try to get pro football to Dublin. Visit jamesonsports.com for more. Matthew, 4 flex picks for week 3. What do you got?
Well, I kind of like DeAndre Swift on the road at the Colts. 76% of the team's running back touches through 2 weeks. Swift has been the guy. He's playing almost 70% of the snaps. No team has allowed more rushing yards in the NFL through 2 weeks than the Indianapolis Colts. Caleb Williams struggling. Expect them to lean on the run game in a big way this one. Kind of like Jerome Ford. Through 2 games, the Giants ranked bottom 5 in both rushing yards and receiving yards allowed to running backs. I know Foreman got some work. I think he could as well. But with Pierre Strong nursing that hamstring injury, I think Ford gets more true all 3 down work against the G-men. Tank Dell is the best buy low in fantasy football right now. Through the season, he's got a 13.4 average depth of target. 45% of his targets have come on deep passes. And guess what? Through 2 games, the Vikings are tied for the most receptions allowed on deep passes. He had a bad drop on Sunday night. That's not always going to happen. It's coming. Tank Dell is screaming a buy low. And again, we've talked a lot about the starting your Bengals against the Commanders. And Mike Gesicki is no exception. 20% target share so far this season. He's gotten an end zone target in both games. So especially as long as T. Higgins is out, Mike Gesicki is going to be a thing for this Bengals passing offense that we expect to have a lot of success against my Washington Commanders.
Sunday night, Patrick Mahomes and the reigning champion Chiefs head to Atlanta as Kirk Cousins and the Falcons look to go back-to-back in prime time. Sunday, 7 Eastern on NBC and Peacock. We're taking our last break. When we're back,
that music's so awesome.
Best bets for Thursday night football. Take them home, Matthew.
Oh, dear.
DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns, and new customers can bet $5 and get $250 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. Download the app and use promo code Barry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. It's time for last call. Let's take a look at the most bet props for Thursday Night Football via DraftKings. Breece Hall rushing yards drop down to 50+. That's an alt line. That's -235. Breece Hall receptions over 4.5. That's at -105. 3 Ramondre Stevenson lines. 50+, -285. These are all for rushing. 60+ is -155. If you're feeling bold, 70+ is plus money at +110.
It's almost like people have watched the Jets try to play run defense.
And the Patriots' obsession with running the football, not throwing to their receivers. This is public's on it.
1,000% on a short week. That's, short week games in New York. Obviously, the Jets have yet to stop the run. Pollard looked great against them. Jordan Mason looked great against them. Ramondre's looked really good through 2 weeks. Feels like him and Hunter Henry are the only Patriots that you can trust from a fantasy perspective in this game. I'm really intrigued by Jaylen Polk, who I think is very talented and feels like, the underlying usage has been very encouraging. So that's a guy that I wouldn't mind grabbing and stashing. I don't know that I would feel comfortable starting him just yet, especially not the Jets against the Jets secondary. But I think he's kind of interesting. They have a competent offense, Jay.
Yep, they do. How serious do you think the Jets' problems are on defense? Do you just think it's just a hiccup?
Well, it's getting worse. Jermaine Johnson just tore his Achilles. C.J. Mosley's dealing with a toe injury. Their backup linebackers are very good. Jamie Sherwood and Quincy, obviously Quincy was an All-Pro last year. But the defensive line's thin. And they got Lecky Fotu on IR. He's supposed to be their big, gapping kind of guy. So it's going to remain a problem. They're going to have to play very heavy against a New England team. They've run a sixth offensive lineman 26 times this year already. They're telling you they're going to run the ball. Their 12 personnel usage is only behind the Ravens, second highest in the league. They play with 2 tight ends. They play with the 6th offensive lineman. They want to run the ball. What's your best bet tonight?
Well, hang on before you get there. Is Braylon Allen flex playable after last week's big week, especially given what you just said and knowing that short week?
It's a short week, right? So I think, yes. His rushing line, by the way, it opened this week around 14.5, 15.5 on DraftKings. It's over 21. Now. So that's a big movement for a backup running back.
Yeah.
And the Jets used the pony package, 2 running backs 4 times last week very effectively. I think that'll be doubled on Thursday Night Football.
Yep.
Braylon Allen he's touchdown dependent.
Sure.
But if you're desperate, he's very interesting.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Okay, my best bet, gentlemen, and this is what betting's all about. This is what the forefathers really fought for. Taking Aaron Rodgers over 1.5 rushing yards at plus 100. You think Aaron Rodgers, the most kind of aware of everything going on around him, you think he isn't aware of everyone calling him a statue for the first 2 weeks of the season? Now he's on primetime, Island game, Rodgers. His last 10 games as a Packer, he went over this 7 out of 10. And so I think that Rodgers, Kirk Cousins had 4 carries on Monday Night Football. I think that he'll have a carry and he'll go over 1.5 rushing yards.
I know. I got so burned on. I love those kind of bets, but then I had Jordan Love over on the rushing, and who's a lot more mobile than Aaron Rodgers, and
give me one play.
That didn't feel. I just like the Patriots to cover, right? I mean, the line is 38.5, and the Patriots are getting 6. That just feels like a very big line for a division game against a team that won in Week 1. They beat the Bengals, and last week almost won. They lost by 3.
They should have won that game.
They covered.
They've obviously covered in 2 straight. Division game, short week. I think it's going to be a slow game. So, give me the Patriots plus 6.
I think it'll be ugly as well. And I do think the Patriots cover, but I think the Jets win. And they could win on the back of Greg Zuerlein having over 1.5 field goals.
Let's go.
Patriots are stingy in the red.
Yes,
They're stingy on their side of the field. The Jets might have a few drives disrupted, ended on that side. Greg the Leg's been one of the more reliable kickers in the NFL the last couple of years. 1.5 field. It's a minus 115. It's not
you can't put the field goal prop into a same game parlay, unfortunately. Otherwise, but I like all 3 bets.
Yep.
I like our chances tonight. There you go. So
That's
we'll see.
us.
Yeah.
Wild show
fantastic.
today.
Wild show today.
There's nothing really left to say.
It's interesting. We started out with we thought, well, we're gonna have a little fun with the neighborhood swinger thing, and then just completely off the rails. It's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you definitely can't stay here. For Jay and Connor, I'm Matthew Berry. God bless. Someone get me a good hotel room. Good luck tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com. And I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched. Or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.